It's the Craggy Rugby Podcast. I'm Rob Murphy. Champions Cup Rugby has returned to the Sportsground, and Connacht have returned to winning ways from left to right. You don't really know which side they're on, so it doesn't matter. It's audio. But here's Dave Finn. How are you, Dave?
I love when Rob takes charge.
Right. Why? Because I'm brilliant?
Yeah, let's use that word.
There you go. Alan Deegan, how are you?
I'm good, Rob. Feels more like a Challenge Cup game than a Championship game, but yeah.
It's like a good old-fashioned French side comes over, look at the wind, I'm not so sure what's going on, and Connacht figured out a way to beat them. Having said that, their scrummaging and their power in defence, William Davis, was Champions Cup level, so Connacht had work to do, had to figure it out, and they have a big win here.
I think it's a big win, and I think it's a big performance. They had to think their way through that game. There was times in the second half when it could have got really difficult for them. Stade didn't offer a lot, but what they did offer was physicality, winning penalties, moving the ball down the field, and Connacht just had to make tackles and keep themselves set. I think they'll be a little bit worried about some of the penalties they gave away. Discipline at times was a little lacking, but to win by that margin and to score and keep the pressure on, score 3 very late tries to get the bonus point and then really put the icing on the cake was excellent.
Dave, I want your first thoughts.
Pretty much agree with the lads. I think the significant thing about the penalties was they almost all came off scrum, or if not directly from the maul down, immediately after a maul for offside or something like that. I think there's a lot to work on, in terms of shape. But let's call this by spade. You can only beat what's in front of you. Stade, yeah, they were down players, but so were we. Look who was missing today, and then you have the late call off from Beelum as well. It was, no, you're not expecting perfection. I mean, the conditions were better than the Ospreys day, but we weren't as good as that day, and that's happened. They're human beings. They're not always going to be perfect. But in terms of a launching pad with a lot to work on for the week, 27 points and no tries conceded. We've been in worse places going over to England.
Felt like a change from the URC, proper cup rugby.
It was, and when you consider we finished with no second row as such, because we had 2 back row players playing in the second row, in that Owen Masterson came off the bench. I know he has played second row 4 or 5 times, but he's not really a second row, and then Sean Masterson come off because the 2 second rows got replaced.
Niall Murray did seem to get a knock on the back, so now we have more worries in that area.
Yeah, and Dowling he didn't look too healthy coming off either, but hopefully they're only just knocked. These are young men, they'll recover quickly, hopefully.
Vita had to pull out as well, so you don't want to be going over to Leicester with that. Oh, sorry folks, I don't want to bring down the mood. We've just won by 6 tries to zip in the Champions Cup. Yeah,
but the reason for feeling down is that Leicester will look at what Stade did and how they bullied us, and they did bully us for about 20 minutes.
Let our listeners feel good for a little bit longer. Relive the game.
Yeah. But when Stade tried to play some rugby, we scored all the tries, and that's what's important. When the rugby broke out, we were the better team.
Here's the in-game story.
10 minutes to kick off. Stade are on the field. Connacht are just about to finish their warm-up by the looks of things. It's going to be a tight one.
Yeah, it looks like it. Stade were a bit slow off the blocks. They arrived in plenty of time, but then seemed to spend a long time in the dressing room. It's European rugby. It's a funny kick-off time. It's very odd for these players to be playing at this time of the day. They've probably been up since about 6 a.m, feeding calories and stuff. But I think Connacht have a good chance here. They're missing players, so are Stade. Keep it tight. They seem to be playing into the wind in this first half, which could get stronger as the game goes on. There's a yellow wind warning in from 3 o'clock. So that's an odd one because Stade won the toss. So we'll see how it goes. But the start is vital. Give them nothing and take every opportunity. I think if you get penalties, try to kick them.
Exactly. Okay, we'll talk again on 20 minutes.
Okay, William just got in 20 minutes. Connacht leads 7-6, but Stade are starting to put the pressure on.
Yeah, a couple of scrum penalties and another Jack Carty direct to touch from a kick-off scenario, so that led to 2 penalties in about 2 minutes. That's a worry for Connacht. They look a little bit off pace, Connacht. They're trying to get speed on the ball, but their accuracy is not holding up. But they have got a decent try through Caelan Blade, but Stade are just working their way into this game. They haven't tried anything yet, but they're playing exactly the way you'd expect them to play, and Connacht just need to up their pace and up their accuracy.
Half time, Connacht lead 19-6.
Interesting game. Has a strange feel to it. But Connacht have just started to impose themselves a bit in the last 10 minutes of that half. and Stade have gone the wrong side of the referee. They've been trying to slow the game down, and it hasn't worked for them. They've got a bit rattled, they look a bit fed up, and Connacht have got in for two really decent tries. John Porch got in for the second one of Jack Carty's looped specials, and then right on half time, Alex Wooten. That's the sort of try you want in the last minute of the half. It happened to Connacht last week against Leinster. They need to come out now right at the start of this second half and impose themselves again, and I think they can put this game away. Stade haven't offered much in attack, a lot of individual play, but I think their mind's not fully on it at the moment, and Connacht need to impose themselves.
They certainly do, and that win seems to be getting it up as promised, so let's see what happens. We'll talk again on 60 minutes. 60 minutes gone. Connacht still lead 19 points to 9, but it's got very scrappy.
It's got very scrappy, and I think that's suiting Stade. Connacht have had a couple of chances and they didn't put them away. Penalty for Stade. They've picked up a few scrum penalties and rolling maul penalties. We know exactly how they're going to play the Connacht scrum under pressure at the minute. They've really got to get a score here. I think it would take them to a situation where they would keep the pressure on them, but I fear Stade Francais are getting into their groove here.
Yeah, Connacht definitely need to score. We'll talk again at full time.
Yes. Try for Connacht, score by number 6, Keane Prendergast!
Okay, William. So with just a conversion to come after Cian Prendergast scored in the corner, Connacht lead 36-9 and the game is over. Wow, what a way to finish.
Yeah, they upped it, didn't they? They just withstood some, I wouldn't say half-hearted, but maybe poorly thought out Stade pressure. But then they got going again, few changes came on, and we've had tries from Owen Masterson, Diarmuid Kilgallen, and then Cian Prendergast. Absolutely excellent finish to the game. Stade didn't offer an awful lot in attack, but they were still in the game at 60 minutes, and now they're completely blown away. Bonus point win for Connacht, and that sets them up next week for Leicester. Some really big performances. I thought Conor Oliver was immense. Thought the two starting second rows, and Kieran Marmion, since he's come on, he's just injected, as it has to be said, Connacht had more ball than maybe Caelan Blade was working with.
Exactly. The bouncers bounced properly today, which they didn't do last week, so good to see they learnt that lesson.
Welcome back. Any sign of a score from Burnley? No. Burnley are playing West Ham.
Score? You haven't even had a shot on target in the 65th minute.
This sounds like a typical Burnley win. I love it. We once won a game by 2 goals and we didn't have a shot on target.
Yeah, well, you better not, because it's my lot. And anyway, but yes, 65 minutes at Turf Moor.
Ah, Turf Moor, a beautiful place to watch football. Niall Shield, Barky, come in, say hello. You've joined us, you just finished up a bit of work. We have a full field here because why not? We won the Champions Cup game with a bonus point.
Excellent, yeah. Bonjour, everybody.
Bonjour. Paris is going to be fun if Stade Francais have that much interest when we go over there.
I hear Charles de Gaulle isn't that much fun though at the minute, so we'll have crack going in there.
Yeah, that's true. We'll have to just take each week as it comes. This is like, I'll start since you've just joined us, but like the parameters of this competition are complex. Is it 8 going out of each of the 2 12-team pools into a last 16 of the Champions Cup? Have I got that right? Yep. Just thank you guys. So, I mean, you get 5 points in your first game. If you win one more game, good chance to be in the top 8.
Yeah, why not? Going to Paris, I'd say we've a great chance of winning another game over there. They're very slow.
Very slow.
Yeah, very unfit, ill-disciplined. They kick the second most in Europe, I'm reliably informed, and their defence, if you don't run straight into them, their defence can be breached. Seems to be handily enough. So I don't know. I'd be gung ho for winning over there, to be honest.
Interesting. We'll bring it back in the while. Not William. Like just a lot of errors from Connacht, though, handling errors, all that kind of stuff. So they created a little bit of a problem from themselves, I would suggest, in the third quarter, where the game was only a 10-point margin. Surprised Stade didn't go to the corner. I'm not surprised actually, considering the way they played overall. But yeah, it just Stade couldn't take advantage of it.
No, they couldn't, but Connacht didn't take advantage either, because it seemed to be easier to play against the wind than with the wind, because Connacht had 3 or 4 pretty good chances in the first half, which they didn't take. But Stade upped their pace in the second half, but they didn't really threaten. It was a strange game in that from them. And the thing about Connacht was Connacht's maintained what they wanted to do, and when they saw the opportunities, particularly at the end, they didn't stop playing. They played right up for the 80 minutes, and that's good, because sometimes they have been guilty in the past of switching off. They did make errors. It probably wasn't an easy day for handling greasy ball. The wind is really getting up now, which they promised us. But overall, I thought, considering where they were from last week, and the changes, this was a decent performance. It's answered some of the questions. The challenge next week is massive, absolutely massive. Leicester went to Bordeaux yesterday and played a type of rugby that it's pretty mundane, but they went to France and they got a win against the top 14 leaders. They're now 10 games unbeaten. So that's, they'll look at this game, they'll think, but Connacht, I think, Connacht can go with a little bit of resilience, in that they know a big side. They seem to handle this big side a bit better than they have big sides in the past. There seems to be a better attitude to that from the players and what they're doing. But Leicester are probably quicker and fitter than Stade, but you do not in any way run down six tries against a French side here, who are a top 14 side with a wage bill that would probably scare Connacht if they actually knew the full extent of it.
It's 38 million. Here's Andy Friend speaking to William Davis afterwards.
Andy Friend, Connacht 36, Stade Francais Paris as they go by 9. That's a satisfying win.
It is, William. It is a satisfying win. 6 tries to 0. It was tough though, as you saw. It was an arm wrestle for many minutes of that 80 minutes. But I think to finish with 2 late scores the way we did just shows again the fight and the energy and the relentlessness that this team's got. So I was pleased with that.
It's a game you had to think your way through a little bit. Because it did get complicated at 19-9, and they kind of came back in, and there was a few penalties and a few bits like that. But Connacht kept playing, and they kept playing the system.
Yeah, I thought our patience and our resilience through that period was good. We've been guilty in the past to start to panic around that and try and force things, but we didn't. I thought defensively, when they sort of started to mount one last effort at us, I thought we held them out. We held them out well. We got a turnover, and then from that we scored. Or a few minutes later we scored. So I thought that was really impressive to see that from the boys. But yeah, I'd say our 9, 10, Caelan Blade in the first 60 minutes, Kieran Marmion in the last 20 minutes, Jack Carty, Connor Fitz. Yeah, I thought they controlled it very well.
Big performance for Conor Oliver as well. I thought he was in the heart of a lot of the things, especially the grunt work and the 2 second rows. Quite young players. It was a big game for them.
Yeah, Connor's been that all year for us. He really has become a bit of a heartbeat for us. So he was outstanding again. And yeah, Niall Murray, Oisin Dowling, 2 really good young locks who both athletic but also tough. And I think they've got huge futures ahead of them. I really do.
What's driving this? Who's driving this type of rugby? Is it the players, the coaches, a combination? Who's really putting this game plan in place?
Well, our senior coach, Pete Wilkins, deserves a lot of credit for that. He's been brilliant. He stepped into that new role this year. He's got a real passion and energy for open rugby and for using the ball in the right way. He is the main voice that we have here now in terms of putting that game plan together. So I'd be pointing all the fingers towards Pete Wilkins. At the same time, he's got some good support from other coaches in behind him, and our senior players led by the likes of Jared Butler, Jack Carty. Those sort of fellas have been outstanding for us this year. So it's a combination, but Pete Wilkins deserves a hell of a lot of credit for that.
Another Sunday is on the horizon, 1 p.m. in Leicester next week. Going to be a different challenge, but they had a good one in France yesterday. But you can take from this that you can handle a big side, and that if you can get the ball, you can ask them questions.
Yeah, and I think that that's been what we've shown this year. When we have the football, we do ask teams questions. We didn't have it for lengthy periods of the time there today, and that was frustrating because I felt like we kept releasing the pressure on Stade. But at the end of the day, it was our our attack zone stuff that really worked for us, which probably hasn't been the case throughout moments of this year. So it was nice to see that happen. But yeah, we're under no illusions as to what next week brings. We're going to have to be a step up again on that performance. Leicester Tigers away at Walford Road. It's a tough ask, but we're ready for that.
We're looking forward to it. Thanks for your time, Andy. Good luck. We'll probably talk again during the week.
Thank you, William. Appreciate that.
Alan, let's bounce here for a few seconds. So much to be positive about. Oren McNulty looking good.
Yeah, seems to be well able to play at this level of rugby, seems very comfortable, always gets across the gain line whenever he makes the first tackle that's made. He uses footwork to get himself past the player, so it's easier for his support players to get in on top and secure a ball. So yeah, very, very impressive young man.
Dave, what I liked about today was John Porch and Alex Wootton came in, no Mac Hansen, but each get a try. They both needed tries, I think, especially Wootton will give them a bit of confidence.
Oh, indeed. I mean, John Porch there's slightly different attitudes to what they do. Wootton is very much a traditional winger, due to his sevens background, where he goes searching for the ball. What they both did was they both finished very well, and they both came into the game. I think that if you're going to look for what finally turned it in Connacht's favour, maybe you might look at John Porch getting the 50-20 kick, because that summed up the game in both points of view. Because it was a penalty to Stade. They went for a touch. They absolutely arsed the wind. Porch gets the ball and kicks it down, gets the 50-20, and the crowd goes up and everybody goes up, and it just summed up how it was. There were things that they were doing. It wasn't always coming off, but they were prepared to try it. Whereas with Stade, you just felt, well, we'll kick it and we'll run and we'll bash, and if we can't run and bash, then we'll kick again and we'll see what happens. And given that we have a first choice international backline not available, that was pretty good.
In the last couple of weeks, without all those centres, I think Sammy Arnold's been critical.
He's been excellent. Won a brilliant turnover there near the end, which halted whatever little bit of momentum they were trying to bring back into it, because it was all about momentum for me in the second half. They came out and played a lot more physically. They were for the first time in the game, they actually got over the gain line, but it was just pure physicality. As soon as they tried to move the ball wide, they weren't able to do anything with it, and Sammy Arnold was one of the reasons for that.
I'll pick out some forwards that stood out for you.
Niall Murray was excellent again, really was. Cian Prendergast is showing up, and Colin Oliver has come on in leaps and bounds this year. He was a borderline liability last year for the amount of penalties he was giving away, but it's fantastic this year, fantastic. Very solid all round, missing Finlay, missing Dennis Buckley. Well, I suppose he's gone for the season, so I wouldn't count him anymore, but
there's some talk about him coming back soon. I've heard he's back training, isn't that right?
Yeah, have him back in training in January, yeah.
Surprised us all, yeah.
Fair play. And TT Tuimaga looks like a front row all to himself. I saw him come off there.
He was out there today. He is a monster player.
Black smoke coming out though when he was doing his fitness there.
Matthew Burke's had a great season, started 6 of 7, but had a bit of trouble in the scrum there.
He did, of course. Jordan Duggan's come on in leaps and bounds. He was brilliant. I know it's AIL and Division 2, whatever. He was brilliant for Corinthians last year, and I think playing the extra games and playing the Eagles games brought him on an awful lot. So I'm delighted for some lads that haven't played that much rugby, how well that they're adapting when they do start playing now, because it's been very difficult for them.
Because Burke's been keeping him out, but Duggan comes on and makes a big statement. It's been brilliant, really, really good competition for places. Lots to be positive about, and I'll go back to you and let's go around there. We're worried about Leicester now because, with all the bangs and knocks and bruises, and then all their physicality.
Yeah, they're going to boot the leather off the ball all day long. The whole entire game is just going to be George Forge knocking ball up in the air, and then they trust their defence on that, and they win their turnovers off that. I didn't think they deserved to win yesterday. I was watching it, but
wasn't a classic, I hear.
It was awful, absolutely god awful.
What's going on with a lot of these French teams? Like, I've watched a bit of French rugby. Great start to the season. Some of the games in the early stage were great. Now they're just getting bogged down in nonsense.
I don't know. Well, they always the
weather.
Fair point.
Yeah, it doesn't rain in France at all.
yeah.
No, but seriously though, I don't know. I mean, Bordeaux, they didn't ask that much yesterday. They missed Jalibert an awful lot, but next week's going to be very, very tough for Connacht. Very, very tough, and we see how it goes into the break then after that.
Yeah, I'd like to see Tuimaga being brought in, big man. I'd also like to see Papali'i brought in, big man, and if Leva Fafita is fit, big man and just come out and play a completely different game from the rest of the season, because what's the point? We're not going to be able to play the type of rugby we want to play because they won't let us do it. So bring out the big men and just put it up to them and see what happens.
If it's refusing dispute.
No. We cannot play Leicester's game because Leicester will destroy us if we play Leicester's game. We play our game. Secondly, you can't have TZ and Abe and some of the backs we have because they're not all Irish eligible, and somebody will have to drop out. So I don't think you can go there. I also think we go there and we play. We take them on at their game, but we play our game. If they are not used to team, if they're going to kick the ball back to us, counter attack, run them with the ball. Yes, beat them up. I know our experience, and it is the negative that hangs over that. Even in pre-season friendlies, we struggle with these bigger backs. I'm not denying that, but if we try to take Leicester on at Leicester's game, it'll be a shellacking.
I kind of agree with that, and the other thing is, if you're trying to play a different way the whole entire season and then to change over to another style, it's just let's see. But I think all those lads are call pack, so you can. I think you can play them. I think you can play them. They obviously. There's guys.
He's changed his mind. Play them all.
No, but there's guys that are going to need game time anyway as well.
But I would say, just on Alan's point of view, I think the game plan was a secondary point you're making.
Yes.
I think the players, even in the system that's been there, not to be defending your own point but
It's basically slowed down the system ever so slightly because these guys obviously can't play at the pace that's there.
Alan on this.
But play them. We need to play them. We also need rest. We've got a couple of interpros coming up too.
There's 5 of us here, so William can be the William, make the call. 2 for 2 here.
I'm not sure you can change the system for just one game, but I think, yes.
I'm not saying the full system, just mix it up.
I think you have to mix it up a bit, because remember, they're coming back here in January, Leicester, so we're going to get a good idea of what they're up to, but we kind of know. They really are probably the best team in Europe. They're unbeaten. They've won 10 out of 10.
Are they virtually favourites for this? A big step for Leicester Rugby to be favourites for the Champions Cup.
Well, I think they got to the Challenge Cup final last year and they made a mess of it. They've also cleared, I think they've 17 players left, and they seem to have replaced them with 17 better players. Visa
spent their 38 million a bit better than Stade spent their 38 million, and probably a damn sight less.
Yeah, I mean Jacob Visa, who was maybe coming here and then went there, is still one of their players. Ellis Genge was captain yesterday, had a huge game. It's a big tough game, but I think the way Connacht have played this season, go for it. You're not going to win by stopping Leicester playing. It's not going to happen. So you have to actually just go for it.
Is there a danger, Dave, that we're moving things on? But I think Connacht fans will move things on. You don't want to salivate too long in this victory. Even though it's a bonus point win in the Champions Cup and it's great, it was a straightforward game.
Can I point out the game hasn't even been gone an hour and you're asking me not to salivate about it? Can I at least have the rest of today?
The fact that I raised the question said I was concerned that maybe we should. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, we should salivate today, but then a bit like the players will have to practice tomorrow. They'll have to come in, do the review. They won't be happy with everything they saw, but as fans, I think we're entitled for a couple of days and a little bit of unnecessary optimism. We don't have to be real. As fans, we don't have to be realistic. We can dream. We can dream of being in Marseille in April or May or wherever it is. Over that weekend, I mean, if maybe even our most pessimistic fan might think, well, we won't win the Champions Cup. Well, we could win that. We could drop down to the Challenge Cup and win that. But we should be aiming to be in Marseille that weekend. That's what we should do as fans, especially after a 36-9 victory against Stade Francais, which is not something that we do every week.
How many years are we into this podcast? There's at least 5 years of doing it. And every year, Dave does is try to win the competition speech. And I love it every time. All right, just as we conclude, though, the game turned on some brilliant defence. The defence is impressive at the moment. That's what kind of shut down their revival and led to massive strike.
Yeah, Collie Tucker, he's very sharp. He's a really, really intelligent coach. I'm not saying this is the zenith of his career, but he could go like great places with Ireland or whatever else. He's a real. I don't know if he's a nerd on the game, but he's excellent. He's an excellent way about him. Really like that. But the second that we do turn over ball, I think that's where we're most dangerous. With sometimes forgetting about holding on to the ball, but apart from that,
quite a lot today.
Yeah. And listen, let's be honest, they offered nothing. I mean, sometimes I'm guilty of it too. Start thinking, Stade Francais and all their money and everything. They're like, what was that?
I think they went above 4 phases of play for the first time in the 50th minute.
Yeah, like they've some fabulous players, but there's no cohesion or anything like that, and that appears to be regular enough problem with them. So, but listen, enjoyed the win. But next week will be fun now.
I love this. We're so cool and calm and collected for winning Champions Cup games. We're at a different level. Alan, you have some notes?
Yeah, we also have some audio from Jack. We won't have any questions, we'll just have his answers because of the way the system is set up inside. We can't hear the questions being asked, so let's just have a listen to what Jack had to say.
Yeah, that was it. Look, we got close to their line. I think they got a turnover, Jackal, and then they kicked down, Maul penalty. And look, that's not the way we want to play, but as Friendly spoke about being adaptable, and I think we just spoke about not backing up bad with a bad, and there's a couple of occasions where we did it twice, and ultimately if you do it 3 times in a row, sometimes you're probably going to be under your stick. So we just kind of spoke about in the pitch about not doing 3 in a row. Let's try to get back to the task on hand, and we did that. So credit to the lads, and kind of when they did get to our 22, we managed to kind of repel them. It still wasn't perfect. There was a couple of midfield scrums there where our kick execution probably wasn't where it needed to be. But I think, as you said, the way that we put pressure on them, and they tried to run the ball out of their half then, and we just kind of suffocated them. So yeah, look, it's really happy with kind of how we did it, but there's still, as Friendly kind of alluded to, a lot more to come from us. Look, when you were younger watching European Cup games, they were the big games. We've been watching games in Welford Road, and they've had attendances of 25, 26,000, which are the games you want to play in. So they've been going incredibly well, 10 games in a row. So I think plus the 2 wins in the LV Cup. So it's a big game for us, and they're littered with internationals as well. So we're really looking forward to it. Yeah, you're right. Look, there was a couple of games in around this time last year where we had 5-metre scrums out, and we kind of maybe, decision making from myself and from the game leaders wasn't up to where it was, but that's the experience, I suppose. When you've done that, you obviously speak about it after, and you get into them positions again, what you're going to do. We have a really clear game plan in terms of certain places on the pitch. So for me, once I have that, it's quite easy. And obviously the confidence then, our set pieces. Friendly spoke to Oisin and Niall Murray, especially with if you look at the way the size they had in their back row, especially they had big line out threats, and I think the way the two of them managed that was fantastic. I think we nearly got all of our lineouts today, so it's a credit to the lads, and as Friendly said, the work that Devol's doing with them. You'll see the backs will be doing skills and stuff, and then you'll see the forwards go out onto the pitch after a tough pitch session, out doing lineouts. So the backs get the credit a lot of the time, but the work them lads do Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays is pretty phenomenal.
Welcome back. Listen, a shout out to our club members who you probably aware now, folks, you can have a Q&A with us every year. So we're going to have a Q&A coming up in the next few weeks. So start sending in your questions on Patreon, and we'll answer them for a special podcast when we get a chance over the Christmas break. We still have a Zoom forum to do for our executive members as well. If you're an executive member, check your Patreon messages, because we're going to just be asking you for a bit of feedback on that. So that's for you guys. Thanks to everyone who signed up in the last few weeks. It's sensational. It means so much to us. You're backing us. You're making all this possible, and thank you for that. Final thoughts coming up. William, first of all, what's the score with Burnley West Ham?
79 minutes, Burnley 0, West Ham 0.
We'll take that. You won't. Okay, so although we're at home, where are we going in this competition? Anyways, enough of that. Alan shaking his head, stop talking soccer.
Well, funny bit near the start of the game where Stade had kicked the ball into touch, and it looked as though it had gone into touch near the halfway line, but the linesman had sort of gone up to the 10-metre line on the Connacht side, and Bundy was not too happy with it because he was cheerleading from the sideline. And he gave...
Was that who they were telling off?
Yes, that's who they were telling off. But it was really funny because the linesman sort of looked at him, and Bundy was giving it all this, and the ref looked over, saw who it was, smiled at him, put his fingers to his lips and just went shh.
And then a bit later on, the ball came in, and it was quite well caught by people in our vicinity where we were on the terrace, and somebody threw it back straight onto into the back of Bundy's head.
Final thoughts is, I think the most damaging kick of the day was actually before the game even started. It was a Connacht kick, came in. Poor gentleman is there. He's having his pre-match pint. He's chilling out. He's not affecting anybody, and his point was willfully killed by a loose kick from Connacht. I'm on our sort of delegate at home has informed us that Andy Friend pointed the man out and asked that he be given pint vouchers.
I'm really disappointed in Friendly. I thought that he didn't go in behind the bar, pull the pint himself, bring it back out to your man.
What kind of coach?
Is there anything this man can't do?
Let's finish on that. Alright, that's it from us, folks. Connacht have won 6 tries to zip, Champions Cup, 5 points. What a start. They're right up there with the best of them. Keep it going.
Loose, cut it loose. break out or nothing changes. Sad and confused. Don't wait until